Pickles, pickles.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Anyone ready for a Halloween special? There's a very low chance that you're actually watching this video on Halloween, especially considering this video was uploaded in June of 2019. But in the off chance that you are at some point in the future, hope you're enjoying the holiday. So as you can see, we've got a second Halloween episode in the series with Midnight at the Mayor's Mansion, although this time it's not really centered on trick-or-treating, but rather scary movies and haunted houses. It still suits the season rather well while simultaneously doing something different from the first time around. But that's enough intro stuff, let's dive in. Our story opens up with the mayor running down the hall while a monstrous growl chases behind him. Although we don't see what the monster looks like right away, so we're left sitting in the dark for the time being with nothing but the silhouette on the wall. I can appreciate that because it leaves a little bit of mystery up to us, the viewers, to sit on for later. We then cut to the girls who happen to be watching a scary movie on their TV, titled Zombie Mimes. Each of the girls also happen to be dressed up as different characters just like the previous year, with Blossom as Rosie the Riveter and Bubbles as the ever so lovable yet barely in the show, Mayor. Buttercup's also got a character too, whom she refers to as Buttercup Van Helsing. No, not just Van Helsing, Buttercup Van Helsing.
Wow, how original!
And it sounds terrible, just like every other Force name. Mission Bubbles accomplished, am I right?
He can do it! You know, Rosie the Riveter, like the poster.
Oh, I thought you were just a mechanic.
The girls don't get to enjoy their TV program for very long because before they know it, they get a phone call from the mayor and fly towards his building to help save him from whatever terrible noise they heard over the phone. Unfortunately for them, they're too late.
Mr. Mayor!
That's a dark thing to have in a kid's cartoon, but wow, I guess that's it then. The girls just weren't fast enough, and due to their incompetence, they actually let the mayor die. Oh my gosh. These girls are terrible! Nah, that's not true. The mayor was just hanging on the coat rack. No biggie. He confesses to the girls that a monster has been chasing him around all night and begs the girls to help stop it. So Blossom suggests they all split up and search the mansion, but Buttercup jumps to immediate retaliation because her monster movie knowledge has taught her that splitting up is always a horrendous idea in situations like these. And I mean, yeah, she's right. At least for this situation, because they don't even know what they're up against. So instead, Blossom meets her halfway and decides to split the group into pairs, telling the mayor to go with Buttercup and Bubbles to come with her. But because Bubbles is so good at staying in character, both she and the mayor begin to head in one direction while Blossom just sits there and groans. Now in this next scene, it's brought up that Buttercup's scared of what could be lurking in the halls, much to Blossom's confusion because she fights monsters all the time. I mean, she fought one just yesterday, apparently, although we certainly didn't get to see it.
I don't know why you're so scared. You fought a monster yesterday.
The rules are different when the monster is inside the house.
Meanwhile, with Bubbles and the mayor, the two of them exchange some words with each other nonchalantly as they traverse down the hall when suddenly the mayor's stomach growls, to which he remarks at how hungry he is. This is where he pulls out his jar of pickle chips to fill his stomach and snacks on them as they keep trekking forward. And it's here that the monster is revealed to be the mayor himself, who apparently transforms into a giant green pickle beast every single time he eats one of these chips. Because fuck it, apparently that can happen in the reboot universe now too. There's anthropomorphic animals, living animatronics, portals to other dimensions, toothaches that do this to you. Also, it kinda ruins the mystery behind the monster when we just get to plainly see it like this. I feel like this is way too soon to find out what the beast really is. It would have been much cooler to have been kept a secret for a little while longer. Bubbles doesn't notice though, since she's facing forward the whole time, and we'll return to these two momentarily. Buttercup managed to stumble upon the banjo room during our time with the two mayors, and it is here that she reveals to Blossom that the monster is most likely in the banjo room because apparently the monster is always in the banjo room.
No way! The The monster is always hiding in the banjo room.
Seriously? When is there even a banjo room?
Uh-huh. Okay, so this is where I'm torn now, because while at first what Buttercup was saying was completely credible, now it gets a little dumb with this whole banjo room fallacy thing. The whole banjo aspect just feels like it was slapped in here to make it more silly or random, but there's not much rhyme or reason for it, narratively speaking. Out from the corner of her eye, Buttercup sees this demonic-looking banjo, and my immediate thought was that him was here making a return from Electric Buttercup, but no, it's just a banjo that steals the soul of whoever plays it, so Blossom decides to strum it in spite of Buttercup because she doesn't believe her lunacy. Return once again to our other dynamic duo who are playing air hockey in the middle of the room with goals that are honestly not much bigger than the puck. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've never seen air hockey tables where the striker could block the entire goal. Just kind of ruins the whole point of playing, you know? Not sure what this has to do with the two of them hunting down this monster, but Bubbles accidentally drops the air hockey puck underneath the table, and the mayor eats another one of his fancy pickle chips in response. This leads to an extremely drawn out gag where the mayor remains in his monstrous form while Bubbles sits under the table constantly throwing new items out from underneath of it, like moldy bread, a mousetrap, and air freshener. But then he just shrinks back down before Bubbles can see anything. It lasts over a good 30 seconds and takes up way too much time compared to what it should. She sets up another game while the mayor goes to get another container of pickle chips because his first jar ran out, but he transforms into his monstrous form once again and scares the ever-living daylights out of Bubbles. Don't ask me how the mayor doesn't notice this stuff happening to his own body though, I mean, he's a dunce. Cut back to the other two Powerpuff Girls as Blossom continues to strum this banjo while Buttercup quakes in fear until they hear Bubbles scream. Thus, Blossom proves her point that the banjo won't steal her soul, and they fly off. What they don't realize is that there was somebody else's soul already trapped inside of it, so she wasn't capable of having hers stolen in the first place. Clever misdirection there, though the characters never learn this, so it's up to the audience to take in this information. Still, at least it provides a reason, and I do love some dramatic irony like this. The group rendezvous together as Bubbles tells them the monster was somewhere nearby, and together the three of them, along with the mayor, lock themselves inside the room so the monster can't get to them. That is, until Buttercup states that every time the characters in the film she watches lock themselves in, they've already sealed their fate because the monster is locked inside with them without their knowing.
Haven't you watched Doom Room, definitely Night of the Living Room, or the infamous Red Room?
Ha! That was a Shining reference! Yeah, needless to say, there's actually a ton of movie references included in here, similar to the way they were presented in The Big Sleep, and more will continue to reveal themselves in a few more minutes. But seriously, is giving the girls fingers gonna become the new Bubbles Gets Angry reoccurring gag or something? Because this has been popping up a lot lately. And so it is finally revealed to the girls that the mayor has been transforming this whole time, as the three of them exit, pursued by a pickle monster, into a Scooby-Doo door gag which takes up another 30 seconds of episode time. It's the staple door gag you've probably seen 50 other times before, with the four of them running back and forth over and over again while a bunch of random stuff happens in between, including the random presence of that basketball team that appeared in Memory Lane of Pain, as well as the mayor appearing in a PPG Mystery Machine vehicle. Then the three decide to say hell with it and punch the pickle monster's lights out, tie him up, and get to the bottom of what's going on. And for what feels like the very first time in forever, it's not an instance where the girls go down in one hit or get captured. They legitimately succeed on their own.
See, girls? We did it!
Now I get it. Super mechanic.
No, Buttercup, it's... forget it.
Like any normal person, the girls thinks it's a little strange that the mayor's become this giant monster and they aren't really sure how to change him back. So Bubbles goes to grab those pickle chips that could help them think things through, which in turn causes Buttercup to realize exactly what's going on.
They're Transylvanian pickle chips.
These expired 5 years ago.
Ooh, not just pickle chips, Transylvanian pickle chips. Only this show would make something sound so forced. But it turns out it's not just the fact that they're Transylvanian, they're also 5 years expired, and that somehow, some way causes anyone who eats them to turn into a giant pickle monster. God, this show is basic. Have you guys noticed how we seem to keep having characters transform into monstrous versions of themselves? Between the mayor here, Blossom and Tooth or Consequences, Buttercup and Muscle Cup, Bubbles probably had hers and Bubbles of the Opera, I'd say. Pretty soon Mojo or the Professor's gonna be due for one. But yeah, Buttercup says she's got this and proceeds to make even more horror movie references to things like The Exorcist and other films, I think.
Ixnay on the Eagles pay, they make you easy cray. Ain't so funny, but
I have no idea what she just said. No, seriously, I re-listened to this audio like 20 times and I cannot for the life of me make out this incessant mumbling, except for what sounds like a Witch Doctor song lyric at the end. Well, following a few more attempts of slapping him across the face, ironing his clothes, throwing a pie at him, you know, stuff that would obviously fix somebody who turned into a monster, obviously. Of course! Yeah, so it gets to the point where Buttercup doesn't know what else to do, so she pulls out a random wooden stake and says this is her last resort, before proceeding to stab it into something off screen. It's meant to be implied for the mayor, but this is a family show, so we can't have that kind of content, obviously. Thus, it's a fake out, and instead she chooses to use it to make a, get this, sundial. No, I'm not kidding.
I made a sundial. We wait a couple of hours and the mayor should be cured.
Because it's just pickles and we just have to wait for the effects to wear off.
Yes.
And we're going to ignore the fact that not only is it nighttime making your sundial useless, but we're also indoors.
Also yes.
Like, even the show acknowledges how stupid this is. And somehow Blossom and Buttercup just know the effects will wear off over time without really providing an explanation for how they drew that conclusion. And it makes me question what the point of all of Buttercup's techniques were for in the first place, but hey! I mean, if she knew it'd wear off over time, then all of this was pointless. Some more time passes, and as the sun begins to rise, the mayor reduces to normal after the effects wear off, and Buttercup explains to him that he was the monster the whole time. So, he swears off the pickle chips forever. Next up, Bubbles, being the ditz who doesn't listen that she is seen eating them in the corner and turning into a pickle monster herself, even though she was already told that they were the cause for the transformation and the one who pointed out they were 5 years old in the first place. The end. Overall, I think this episode is kinda not as good as the squashioning for a Halloween episode, I'll say that much. I mean, I wouldn't call this episode bad for reboot standards, but it's nothing stellar by any stretch of the imagination. As I've mentioned a few times throughout the video, Buttercup makes nods to famous horror movies, so I figured I'd run down a list of them for you right now.
Buttercup Van Helsing! Beast in the Banjo Room, Nightmare on Banjo Street, Banjo Bloodbath 1 and 3, Beauty in the... Haven't you watched Doom Room, Definitely Night of the Living Room, or the infamous...
Red Room.
The power of juice compels you!
Hopefully that provided some fun trivia for those of you that like that sort of stuff. Only thing that really bugs me is how Blossom gets annoyed at Buttercup for the things she gets right, like not splitting up or the monster being in the room. I mean, with both of those, we clearly see her retort sarcastically even though Buttercup was right, as she was with the banjo as well, but this is never acknowledged. I also find it amusing in that by having Buttercup be correct about everything that happens, this episode inadvertently admits that it's as cliche as humanly possible because every single thing that happens has been done before in other movies, but better. And it's just ripping off previous source material instead of doing something new. And I think that's the greatest irony in all of this. Anyways, that about does it for this episode. Happy Halloween, y'all. Hope you enjoyed it.